Okay, so yes, I know this video is a little bit later than normal. However, I am still doing it. I feel like after you guys know what events happened this year and what's been going on, I feel like you'll understand, okay? There was a lot that happened this year for me. I had prom, I had graduation, I had moving to Eugene. So today I intend to fully update you guys on everything that I've been up to. Yeah, it's just a couple of weeks later than normal. So without further ado, here's my recap for 2024. Today is February 23rd, 2025, and I am about to start week 8 of my second term here at the University of Oregon, and I love it here so much, and I am so excited to start talking about it. So much has truly changed since I recorded last year's video. I live in a new state, I have a new crush, I even have a new filming location, you guys, look! My 2024 started with the aftermath of me deciding to step away from drama club. In December, I told the teacher that I was going to resign from the musical and also my position. I decided kind of last minute that I truly wanted to enjoy my last semester of high school and that I wanted to take full advantage of everything that there is to offer, and I knew that long after school rehearsals was not going to be that answer. So I decided to focus purely on my schoolwork since, unlike most seniors, I decided to do a completely full intense schedule my senior year. I ended up taking 3 AP classes my senior year. I believe this was a great choice for myself. I know that for others it wouldn't have worked. I'm just that type of person who likes having more work. So my day started with AP Literature. I'm the type of person who loves classic books. I'm an English major, so it worked really well for me. The books that we read were Frankenstein, Hamlet, and Pride and Prejudice, which Pride and Prejudice was already one of my favorite books before rereading it for class. So this was a very fun class and I enjoyed it so much. So after that, I would walk to the opposite side of the school and outside to the portables for AP Statistics. Stats was not my friend. I did not do well in stats. I tried so hard. You have your classes that work for you and the classes that don't, and that was one of those that did not. The nice thing with me quitting drama club is I got the time to focus on really learning this course. After stats, every day besides Monday, we would walk to our 8th period class, and I had that with Miss Chu. It's pretty much, I've talked about this before, it's pretty much our daily 30-minute homework class. So pretty much you go, you have your advisor, and then in that class you have your Zello assignment that you need to complete, and then it's pretty much homework, and if you need to talk to another teacher about work, that's pretty much what that time's for. It's also the built-in time for assemblies, so that way they don't need to mess around with the schedule too much. My second semester, I had to take a painting class for my 3rd period. This class ended up being so much fun and it was super relaxing and I enjoyed it. I've always been the type of person that's very creative and who gets these really cool ideas, except I'm terrible at executing those ideas. So being able to learn different techniques of how to make art look really cool was a lot of fun. My 4th period, I worked as a TA for the front desk of our guidance office. This was a lot of fun because I was able to continue working on more homework, but also I had a couple of simple tasks that were included with the role. My 5th period was DECA. In this class, we didn't really do that much. It was kind of once every 2 weeks we had an assignment, maybe. So pretty much if we didn't have anything that was really going on, I took this as my free for all time. So I would watch TV, I would watch Eras Tour live streams. I took advantage of my time, I relaxed. However, at the beginning of the year, I did submit a DECA project. So what that means is that you have this big main research project that you are working on preparing, hoping so that way you can present it at state, which I was able to go to. It was in Bellevue, and I got to wear a suit, and I got to look all nice and cool, and it was a lot of fun. This was my Psychology of a Crush, which you guys could have seen some of the videos I posted for it on here. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, my final class of the day was AP Government and Politics. I loved AP Gov. When I was a freshman, I saw that we had AP Gov our senior year, and I just wanted to skip the senior year. Government and politics have always been an interest for me, and I just really wanted to take this course, and I was so happy when I loved this course. We pretty much learned about the different organization, the US government system, and then also different court cases that influence that organization. And it was so interesting to me. I love this class so much that I decided to add political science to my major. So now I am double majoring in English and poli-sci, and oh, I love it. I love it so much. My workload was mainly a combination of readings for AP Literature, homework that I did not understand for AP Stats, and then vocab lists for AP Gov. In March, I started earning my volunteer hours. I decided to go back and work at my elementary school as a TA for our STEAM program. Pretty much what my job was is I got to set up different science experiments. I cleaned up afterwards, and then I helped with any questions, and I pretty much entertained the kids. If they had any questions that they didn't want to go up to the teacher, they would go to me, because I was the cool older kid that proved that at some point you will finish grade school, and they enjoyed it. They asked me questions about what I'm looking forward to college and what high school life is like and who my prom date is, and I loved it. It was so cool. The second week of May, I took all of my AP tests, and it was complete and utter chaos. However, I believe it prepared me so well for college finals week. My AP Gov test was on Monday morning. Tuesday afternoon was my AP Stats test, and then my AP Lit test was on Wednesday morning. My main reward for this week was that I got to go to LA because I knew that there was going to be nothing the rest of that week for my classes. So I went to LA, I looked for prom dresses, I just got a nice perfect break from school, and was everything that I ever could have wanted. And then the nice thing was, again, since I was mostly AP, my classes ended with pretty much just project finals. For AP Literature, I ended with a tea party final where you just had to bring some sort of pastry item and then give a toast to a fictional character. The fictional character that I chose was Mr. Darcy. AP Stats, I had to give a presentation on why one cannot conclude that Taylor Swift only writes breakup songs, because 64% of her songs in her discography are not breakup songs. So one can't argue that she only writes breakup songs if the majority are non-breakup songs. Yeah, that was so much fun. I loved it so much. AP Government and DECA shared a final project, which I think a couple of you guys saw. It was a video that I did with my friend Sophia, Media's Effect on Elections, and it was fun. It was so cool. And then my painting final was a portfolio of all of the different paintings that we had done that term, so that was pretty simple. And yeah, all in all, the last couple weeks of school, I was kind of bored because we didn't have much to do. My days consisted mostly of the New York Times mini crossword and my favorite Sudoku. But yeah, I pretty much just did that until graduation. I ended the year with all A's in all of my classes, with the exception of AP Stats. However, I feel like we have established that it's okay. Like mentioned earlier, due to me leaving drama club, I had a dramatic change in my social life early on in the year. I went from being someone with a relatively large friend group to being truly me, myself, and I, Miss Independent. And as an only child, I'm used to being by myself. I can handle having to just stick by my side. However, it was hard. It was a change. And so I eventually ended up becoming really close friends with my friend Sophia, who was, like I said, she was in my election video, and we decided to go to prom together and have fun there. And then she was also my walking partner at graduation, and she's just the best. She's at Boise State right now, and she's amazing. But in addition to Sophia, I also had another part of my social life that I kept more completely secretive. I've alluded to the story before on this channel, but I knew I couldn't really go into too much detail. But I figured I would still tell it here because it's a massive part of my 2024. When I was in 8th grade, I got a crush on this guy who, for the purpose of this video, we'll call Waldo. Waldo was this tall guy who wore red shoes and navy blue sweatshirts, and he was my crush. I continued to have this crush through all of quarantine, and he became my inspiration for a trillion songs that I wrote during this time. And so when I got to the point of returning to school in 10th grade, I had kind of completely idolized him and turned him into this bit of a fictional character. So I was terrified to talk to him. And so I did it. 11th grade, I got lucky enough that we started having these small, simple interactions. He said happy birthday to me. He waved at me in the hall. So senior year started with the continuation of those hellos in the hall, which I was happy with. I was content. And that was the full story until February 14th. I was almost late to school this day. I could not figure out what I wanted to wear, and I ended up just doing the same outfit that I chose weeks prior. After second period, I started walking the 8th period like always. I walked to the side entrance door to get back into the building. I held the door open for the person behind me. He said thank you. I said of course. And then he just continued talking. On Valentine's Day of all days, I had my first conversation with the person who I waited 4 years to talk to. Somehow, luckily for me, these conversations became a weekly experience and then a daily occurrence. He was telling me details that I never could have imagined I would be lucky enough to hear, and also clarifying questions I never thought I would get answered. But as I mentioned earlier, I kept these interactions a secret. For prom, I went with Sophia. We had dinner at this Italian restaurant, which was super good. And we took a bunch of photos. My prom was at the Seattle Arts Museum. And the way of how the venue worked out was that the bottom, like, ground floor was like the party, dance, photo area. And then if you went up the escalator, there was an art exhibit. That was more my vibe. Sophia's vibe was more the dancing, partying, all of that. So we ended up kind of splitting off. And I went upstairs and just like in a movie, I got to the top of the escalator, standing right there, center of the room, turned around looking at a painting. No one else around was Waldo. So I walked over, I said, can I hang out with you? And that's how I spent my prom. Walking around in a museum in a beautiful dress and 4-inch heels, talking to a guy who I never thought I would truly get to talk to. I always knew that I wanted to tell him about the crush at some point. I have never gotten lucky enough where any of the guys that I have ever liked in the past would get close to me and would get to the point where I could tell them on my timeline. I believe that since he made such a huge impact on my life, that it was unfair for him to go on with his life not knowing that impact. So on the last day of school, I gave him a cute little red notebook with a letter inside that said the full story that I pretty much just recapped it here. My plan was to tell him before senior countdown However, I didn't know exactly what time senior countdown was, so of course I did this at the exact same time as senior countdown. So he got the present, but not me telling him the story. We agreed to talk then at grad night, which was an event the night of graduation that lasted from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. That just entire night was hectic and crazy, and we didn't get to talk, and it was a mess. So then we ended up exchanging numbers after we got back to the school, and we decided to meet at our local mall. That is when I told him the full story, and he took it so incredibly well. He appreciated that I actually wrote so many songs about him. In my experience, a guy does not react well to being the inspiration for a song. I never thought that a guy could take that news well. About a week later, on July 2nd, he left to start basic training for the Navy. Suddenly, I went from having everything that high school me wanted to going full no contact that next morning, and it was hard. I honestly believe it was the hardest week ever. But I also think this was the moment that I genuinely realized that high school was over. And that I was realizing that I was soon about to leave and go to Eugene and not come back to this home that I've always come back to. And that I was gonna be leaving my small little nest of a family for the first time. And it terrified me. I ended up spending that week pretty much just in my room watching season 6 of Big Brother. And I ignored the world. I ignored every email that Oregon sent because I wasn't ready to admit that my life was about to change. I don't really think about him that much now. I mean, he's in the military. There's not really much one could do. Plus, I already knew there wasn't a world where I wanted to bring that crush with me to college. I was ready to start over. I was ready for someone new. I am so incredibly proud of how this story ended. I am so incredibly proud for staying true to my gut and for being stubborn and wanting what I wanted. And I'm so incredibly proud to say that he knows the story and that I did tell him. I studied so incredibly hard for all of high school that my reward was 5 months with the person that I wanted to spend 5 months with. Why am I telling you this story? The point is, this is a video of my recap of the year 2024. In my head, he was the main highlight from the first half of 2024. And if I don't tell that story, then I'm not actually telling you what happened this year. Eventually, I decided that it's actually truly time to move on. I submitted my photo for my Oregon ID. I booked my first advising appointment and just simply accepted the fact that in September, my life was about to fully change. So my mom and I went to Boston for a couple of days, and then we met up with my dad in New York. And we were there for a week. I had wanted to go to Boston for so long just because I'm a history person, and I knew that there was a lot of core foundation for politics that was there, and I wanted to be there, and the food was the highlight for me. We had lobster rolls and lobster mac and cheese, and then at this Italian restaurant we got these lobster stuffed mushrooms, and as you can see, just a lot of lobster, and I loved it, every little bit. I got to visit Harvard, which was so cool, and we took a historical walk around the city. At the end of the couple days, my mom and I took a train to New York where we met up with my dad. And again, had more food. That was awesome. But the highlight for me was the different Broadway shows that we saw. So the musical that I chose was The Outsiders, which was so good. It was everything that I wanted. The Outsiders is my all-time favorite book. I love it so much I even have it here with me in college. I love this book so much, and I am so proud to say that the musical was just as good. And if you are in need of a new record to listen to the soundtrack for this musical. It is so good. I listen to it at least once a week. I know every song by heart. It is, oh. So then we also saw The Great Gatsby, which was so cool, and we had Jeremy Jordan as our Gatsby, which, like, for any Broadway theater kid, like, that's a dream. Then we squeezed in seeing Stereophonic, the play, before going to see the comic Brad Williams at Town Hall, which was so much fun. I loved it. The rest of my summer was mostly filled with other concerts, such as seeing Olivia Rodrigo at Climate Pledge Arena and Pink at the Tacoma Dome. Orientation was the first week of August. So the University of Oregon doesn't start school until the very end of September, which meant that I spent that last month truly just with my family, taking everything in. I actually ended up getting sick the week right before move-in, so my mom mostly had to finish up all the last minute packing, which was so hard for me. I am someone that loves making sure that everything is perfect and organized, and it was so hard just having to relax and recover. But everything worked out. It was fine. On September 27th, I moved into my dorm room. I met my roommate and had my first night of college. Then that Monday, we had our first day of classes, which I was so excited about. I am someone who I love school, if you haven't noticed. And I feel like it was such a crazy long summer. I was just in need of being in a college classroom. And I loved it. It was so much fun. My schedule for the first term of college was pretty simple. I had a Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. for my Intro to Political Science class, and a discussion for that class at noon on Thursday, which was pretty good. And then the rest of my classes were under what was called my FIG courses, and those are your first year interest group classes. So my classes were set under the theme of social change and liberation, and they included the courses of women and gender studies and intro to ethnic studies, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the course. I'm just gonna be honest, October was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad month for me. Especially at the beginning. I was just alone and scared, and I didn't have my family, and I realized things were just not going well for me. So luckily enough, I realized this early, and I was able to register to do recruitment to join a sorority, which was so much fun. I love my sorority that I'm in. But the recruitment process was a lot. This was 2.5 weeks of conversations and putting together cute outfits. And I believe that everyone who went through this recruitment process thought it was going to be a lot simpler than it was. I was just simply lucky in that I fell in love with my house immediately, and every single conversation I had there was perfect. So Gamma Phi Beta was the very first house that I walked into, and it was the last house that I walked out of for pref. On October 15th, I accepted my bid, and I started the new member process. Every Sunday for about a month, we had new member meetings, and then I started going on crescent dates so that way I can meet my potential big. And my first crescent date was who my big ended up being. Her name is Sam, and she's the absolute best. On November 14th, I had my big little reveal, and I got to meet my sorority family I love it. And then a week later, on November 21st, I got initiated, and I loved it all. I loved how everything turned out. I then went home for Thanksgiving, came back for 2 weeks for week 10 and then finals week, and then I took the train back to Seattle to start my winter break. And my winter break was mostly a celebration for everything that my family accomplished this year with a European vacation. We did a week in London where we saw 2 West End shows and Paul McCartney at O2. Then that weekend we went to Milan, which was a lot of fun. And then we ended the week with Christmas in Paris, which, it was wonderful. I had so much fun, and it was incredible to not have dorm food. This would not be a full year in review for me if I did not mention the fact that the Oregon Ducks had a wonderful football season this year. There is no better way to start your freshman year out of school than to have your football team go 13-0 in the regular season. Like, what? I have always been a devoted Oregon Duck football fan, and I love football. I understand football. I was so excited. I watched every single game. I was at every single home game. It was perfect. I finally got to see my first game at Autzen Stadium. I got to experience the student section to its full potential. And I was also at both Ohio State games. I feel like I have been defending my football team for so long. And the fact that my freshman year is the year that we ended up doing so well, it makes me so happy. And then my other like big sports team, I guess, that I'm really a massive fan of, and that was the New York Liberty, who is my WNBA team, and they ended up winning the championship. I love them. I love New York. I am a huge New York Liberty fan. And so, like, I love that all my sports teams are doing well this year. It was nice. I liked it. And then, of course, again, it wouldn't make sense for my recap if I didn't include the fact that Taylor Swift released a new album, with that album being a double album. With the Tortured Poets Department, and then we also had the end of the Eras Tour, which ended up actually being the Sunday of finals week. So it was wonderful. It was perfect. Now I'm in week 8 of my second term here at UO. I've stayed involved with GFI as much as I possibly can. And I'm doing well in all my classes this term, which is incredible since they are so much harder than last term's classes, and I was a little bit nervous. But I'm doing really well, all in all. There were a lot of emotions this year, but I think I handled myself well, and I think I stayed true to myself. As I'm making this video, I have 73 subscribers. The video that I posted with the most views this year was my Clever Closet video that I made for my DECA class, and it has 536 views. What? I have no idea how this video did so well. I'm happy for this video. Yeah, it was not at all my goal. I just had to make a quick little video for my DECA class, and somehow it circulated, I guess. I don't know. Lastly, if you have made it this far in this video, which I don't know how you did that, thank you. I would like to say thank you so much. And in terms of my plan for the future of this channel, what I'm gonna say is my hope is to post more songs, specifically songs I wasn't able to post in high school due to there being too many details about who I wrote the song about. They're fun songs, and I think you guys would enjoy them. And yeah, that's pretty much all I'm gonna promise for the moment. So, like always, please like, and since you're in that area of the screen, why not hit subscribe? I mean, it's right down there. And for the first time as a college student, I hope you all stay your extraordinary self.